Good afternoon, everyone. We're so glad that you could join us for Boyer's spring client events. If you've already been on a session or two, welcome back. This session is going to cover a 360-degree view of your customer in Dynamics 365 Sales and Business Central. All right, so if this is your first time joining us, or if you want a reminder, here's a quick look at this week's agenda. If you missed a session, you can request a recording by emailing kerickson@boyerassociates.com. Also, just a quick reminder that you can put any questions that you might have in the Q&A box. Do not put them in the chat. We will answer a few questions at the end of this session, and if we have time, or we will follow up with you after the event. You can also watch sessions you've missed, or if you want to watch them again, you sure can, from the same event registration page. Okay, so you are all clients, so we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about Boyer, but we did want to give you a quick look at what we have to offer. We are a full service ERP, CRM, and Power Platform solution provider. And we do a lot of the work in the nonprofit sector specifically. I also want to highlight in the bottom right corner over there, our managed service support. So we have some exciting news. We've revamped the way that we do support at Boyer. We have tiered services and support options for every need, from basic support to proactive weekly meetings. So if you want more information, please be sure to attend those sessions, or you can email Dave at dkuntz@boyerassociates.com. All right, so we have a lot of great info to cover. So let's dive into this session with Eric. Go ahead, Eric, you can take on.
All right, thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna cover is just kind of a day in the life of an opportunity through a quote to an order and running it through Business Central. So what you're gonna see is really how Dynamics Sales and Dynamics 365 Business Central can kind of tie together and how seamless those interactions can be. So I'm going to start out by actually going to the integration table mapping. So I've got my two systems connected here. So it's actually showing here on the left-hand side. This is my Business Central table. On the right-hand side is my Dataverse or my Dynamics Sales table. So in here, you can actually see you can set up which direction you want it. For example, customers. Maybe our source of truth is actually the Dataverse. So I want everything to push down from the Dataverse in a single direction to Business Central. Or I can even come into here and do it at a field level. So maybe there are certain fields within Business Central that we will let users update, and we do want to control that those are bi-directionally shared. So you have a lot of control over how information is going to be shared. And again, what we're looking at here is all out of the box from Microsoft. If there's additional fields or additional tables you need to link, we certainly can accommodate that. But I want to just really highlight what comes out of the system. So I'm going to go ahead and hop into one of my customers here. I've got a DADM Corporation set up. And right away when it comes up here, you can see on the right-hand side, it's actually showing me my opportunities. And this is going back into Dynamics Sales now. So I can actually click on those opportunities and I can see those opportunities in here. If I want to go see more information, I can actually come up here and hop right into that opportunity into Dynamics Sales. So right away now, Microsoft has redirected me into that opportunity. I'll go ahead and just leave that up here for a second. I'm going to just come back here as well and look at the customer. So again, same thing with the customer. I can hop into that customer record into Dynamics Sales as well. So again, I can bounce back and forth. If I start into Dynamics Sales first and I actually want to move over into Business Central, I've got the same button up here in my ribbon that will now actually redirect me back into Business Central. So again, very easy to bounce between the two systems. The way I'm set up again is if I were to make any changes in here, those changes would automatically synchronize then down into Business Central. I'm going to come back to this opportunity. Actually, I want to run this opportunity through Dynamics Sales into Business Central, and I'm going to invoice it, and we're going to see that transaction coming back in here. So here we've got my opportunity. Robert Towns wants to purchase some additional chairs. So if I go look at my product items here that I put on my opportunity, you can see that I've got my chairs listed here, and it's actually showing me the on-hand quantity available from Business Central. So even the items and what we have available is showing up in here. The pricing on here as well, this could be pricing from Business Central. This could be, maybe we have specific special pricing within dynamic sales. So I can choose where that pricing is going to come from. And as you see, when this flows through, it's going to take the pricing that we put on the order in dynamic sales. So I'm going to go ahead and create a quote. Go ahead and set this quote up here. Going to just grab those products right from what I had set up. So this looks good. Everything looks fine. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and activate the quote. Now, this is another option I have within the integration. At this point, I could have this quote actually go over and create a quote in Business Central. So maybe that's where I want my starting point to be. As soon as we activate a quote, I want to submit it over to Business Central, and then we're going to let our fulfillment team take it from there to process. In this case, though, I actually want to generate this quote out of dynamic sales, and then I'm going to go ahead and just create the order. As soon as I create the order, of course, this is going to close out this opportunity. So it's going to close the opportunity for me. We're going to calculate that we won it. So everything on that opportunity side is now closed out. I'll just go ahead and say okay. So here's my order. So at this point now, I've got this option to submit the order into Business Central. So here, maybe I'm talking to my client, I decide, we're actually going to go ahead and give you a 5% discount on this. So I can go ahead and put that discount on here. I've got a requested delivery date. They need it by early part of June. We'll put it June 9th. So I can fill this in. If I happen to know the shipping information, I can put that in here as well. Odds are your sales reps won't know that. That's really, again, on our warehouse team to decide how we're going to ship that over. But I can get any of this information set up, and we're going to see this information go over into Business Central. So here now I'm going to submit the order. Without the Business Central integration, at this point, you really would have the ability to create the invoice in Dynamic Sales. But again, I want all the fulfillment and invoicing happening in Business Central. I'm going to go ahead and submit that order. And there it's been processed. So I'll just go ahead and I'm just going to close out of CRM here, or Dynamic Sales. And I'm going to go look at my sales order list. Now, I don't have the order in here yet because there is about a 15-minute delay, I would say. So if I were to sit and wait for 15 minutes, that order would come in. I do also have the option, though, to not automatically create that order. So I could stop the order at this list right here. So this is where all of those dynamic sales orders come into. So maybe I want my people to have an option to review it one more time before we actually create it in Business Central, because I want to try to keep that data set clean. But I know this is a good order. I'm going to go ahead and create in Business Central. Tells me that there is a discount in here. Do I want to bring that discount through? I absolutely do. And here's now my order screen in Business Central. So the same products are on here using that same price list. If I come down, you can actually see that discount pass through. And I should have my requested date of 6/9 came in here as well. So at this point, depending on how I've got Business Central set up, I might be doing some separate fulfillment. So I might need to create that warehouse shipment. I might need to create my pick request. If I expand my fact box out here and look at my line items, I've got the same thing where I can see, yeah, we do have the availability on this item. So if I needed to get it from a different location, I certainly could. But at this point, it's really in my fulfillment team's hands. In this example, I'm not doing any kind of separate fulfillment. I did not mean to close that order. Let's come back into it here. So I'm ready to now go ahead and process this invoice. So I could go ahead and send the confirmations out, print some invoices, but I'm just going to go ahead and post this invoice. I could email a copy of the invoice out as well if I wanted to. So we'll ship an invoice. I'll say okay. The invoice is created. And so now I've got my invoice in the system. So this is now an OpenAR document. So if I actually come out of here and let's go back to my customer, I can see they now have a balance on their account. So we are ready to go ahead and collect payment on this invoice. Let's open it back up. Now again, I've got the same thing. So on the dynamic sales side, this invoice hasn't been created quite yet. It's got that little bit of a delay on there. If I want to get it over there faster though, so if I know my sales rep is waiting and they need to see that this transaction did get invoiced, I can just go ahead and invoice that schedule that invoice here. So it's queued up now. This goes pretty quick. So if I come back into it, we should actually see now that that invoice is created in dynamic sales. So same thing here, I can click on this invoice button and it'll redirect me into that transaction. So I can now see that we've got an open invoice. It's been billed through. See my products on here. I can see that discount on here. We actually shipped it out plenty early, so they wanted it by the 9th of June, but we actually got it out by, went back in time to the 8th here. So now if I go ahead and close that out, let me go back into my customer here, and I'm gonna go ahead and pay that invoice. So they go in ahead and made that payment. Let's push this out a little ways. Let's say that happened on the 1st. Why is it shortchanging me here a little bit? Let's get the whole amount here, make that payment. 6-1, need the full amount. Helps if you can type. There we go. So now that full payment's been collected on that invoice, I'll go ahead and post this payment. So now, of course, we're going to create this against our bank ledger. So we've got an item that can now be reconciled. I should see that that open invoices are all gone. So my balance now is back to 0. And I'm going to go ahead and update the account statistics. Again, you don't have to run this, but we do have that slight delay on the sync. What this is now going to do is actually go back and flag that original invoice as paid. So I'll just go ahead and do that update. Now, if I go look at that invoice again, I'm just going to my posted sales invoices. That should be the one we just processed. Let me go look at that invoice in CRM. And you can see now that status did get switched over to paid. So I am able to, as a sales rep, see that indeed that was processed. If I come back over to my open opportunities, again, that original opportunity for chairs has been closed out, but I can toggle and go look at my closed opportunities. So there's that opportunity to get closed as one for me. If I go look at my customer account information, I do have the ability to see those invoices over here as well. So I can come in and look at the invoices. You can see any open invoices would be sitting here, but in this case, Adatum Corporation is doing a great job of paying for us. So I can come over here and look at paid invoices. And there's that new chairs invoice again, sitting right there that we just processed. So again, a lot of that bi-directional information. So I want to go ahead and switch back over to Business Central. I can click back into that Dynamics 365 for Business Central, and you can see now it's automatically redirecting me over into CRM. So some of the other setup things I just want to look at real quick. If I come back into, let me go to that D365 setup. We'll take a little bit of a look of how all this is processing. So you can actually see I get a lot of these different kind of queues, or things can get queued up. Again, it can come over as a quote if I wanted to. But if I actually look at the connection setup here, so it's just looking for this URL here. I can absolutely link sandbox environments to each other as well. So this is a production environment that I'm in, but if I want to do all this testing before we roll it out, I certainly can do that. So when you do this connection, it'll actually ask you for the environment you want to connect to. So I could link a Business Central sandbox environment to a Dynamics 365 sales sandbox environment as well. Here's those sales settings. So this is where I actually want to do it at the order level. If I disabled this, it would create it over at the quote level. I can also do bi-directional sales order integration. So this is fairly new. It used to be that as soon as that order was pushed over from sales to Business Central, any changes made in Business Central would not flow back. Well, Microsoft has changed that. So if I do make any kind of changes, once it gets over to Business Central, I realize we don't have enough of this quantity. I got to swap this item out, something of that nature. Those changes will go back to that original order in sales. And here's the synchronization. So I do have the ability to run a full synchronization. What this is going to do is the first time you set this up, it'll actually try to couple all of your records together is what it's kind of called. And I can go look at that coupling as well. But this way, if I don't have any of my customers set up in Business Central yet, it'll take my customer records from sales and bring them into Business Central. Maybe they both do exist. This was fairly new as well, where I can actually have it set up as to how am I going to do that auto coupling for me. So older versions of this process, I would have to go and manually link these records together. What Microsoft has done is they've actually let me put in rules, and here you can see that coupling criteria selected, where I can set up rules as to what am I looking for to match, because my ID in sales may not match my ID in Business Central, and that's okay. Maybe instead I need to look at an address, or I need to look at the name or something of that nature. So I can actually set up multiple rules in here. I can have priorities, and then when I run the synchronization, it's going to try to automatically link those records together. Anything that may fail, I can actually go into the synchronization log. So I can come here and where'd my log go? This might show me. So on the queue here, it will show me a log. And if I have any errors, I would be able to see those error messages. It does give me a queue in here as well to fix those errors and rerun that synchronization. So again, the first time you run this, there very easily could be an issue where a payment terms isn't set up in both systems because it's going to try to sync that field over. So I could go and set up that payment terms in Business Central and then rerun that synchronization, so I don't have to go through the whole process again. So again, a lot of good setup tools for us to kind of get these things tied up, synchronized together. If I were to get any errors, what can happen sometimes as well, again, when you're doing bi-directional, is I might have somebody who just happens to make an update on a customer record in Business Central, and 30 seconds later, somebody does a similar or different update for that same record in Dynamics Sales. Well, the synchronization doesn't know which one it should take, which one it should do first. So it'll actually record an error record for you and let you decide you want to pull it from sales into Business Central, or you want to push it from Business Central back into sales. So with that, I wanted to leave a few minutes for questions. So if there's any questions, please enter them into the Q&A section. That was really just to kind of give you a flavor of what it looks like. And again, we are more than happy to dive deeper in if it's something you're interested in looking at, and even helping you set up some sandbox environments if you want to get in and start playing around with it.
Right. Give everybody another minute, and if there are no questions, we can certainly end this session a little bit earlier, but we appreciate everybody's time, and thank you, Eric, for the awesome presentation. You did a great job. It was very informative. All right. Everybody here a minute. Again, the questions would go in the Q&A section, not the chat. Eric, you're just so efficient. Nobody has any questions. You've answered them all, I think.
All right, I confused everybody.
Right. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for your time. And again, if you do come up with any questions later on, don't hesitate to reach out. We can certainly answer those for you. So, all right. Well, everybody have a great day. And Thank you for attending this session, and hopefully you can attend a couple others that might interest you. Take care, everyone.
All right, thank you.